Hi, I'm Deanna Lights. I'm the health reporter at WWJ Radio, and with me is the head of the trauma program for Beaumont Hospital, is Barb Smith. And today we're going to talk about knowing how to stop the bleed and talk about trauma and what to do in that situation so that maybe you can save a life. And we encourage you, if you have questions, comments, send them our way, because we want to help you learn about this, and so that if you find yourself in this situation, you can make a difference for someone that you come across and save their life. So tell me, first of all, Barb, why is this something that we should take the time to learn?
Well, this class originally came from the need of helping people in mass casualty events. And of course, that was the catalyst for it, but you could use it for car crash, it could be home accidents, work accidents, it could be any incident where we get hurt and have severe bleeding.
Okay, and how do I even know that someone is having severe bleeding? Is it obvious?
Let's think, for instance, this wound. We see pooling of blood underneath. That's a sign. You may see blood just kind of pouring out. You might see blood that is spurting out. We may see a person who is confused or unconscious that's bleeding, and we assume that that's related to that and we need to intervene. So say someone loses part of extremity, that would be a cause that they obviously had a large amount of bleeding too.
Okay.
And that means we need to intervene.
All right, so what do we do?
Well, first and foremost, the simplest thing that we can do is we can take a piece of cloth, we can take our clothing, we can take our dressing, and then we can just apply firm, steady pressure. Constant, very hard pressure on it, and no peeking, okay, because we want it to clot off. This generally will be enough to take care of severe bleeding, but if it is not, then we need to move on and do something more.
How long do I don't want to peek because I'll disrupt everything that I did, but how do I know how long to stay there?
You should see almost instantly that this is doing what it is. What we want it to do, that it's stopping the bleeding. I want to keep holding until EMS or someone else takes over for me. Okay, so we stop that severe bleeding, but again, we don't want to stop. We don't want to take it away.
Okay.
If this is ineffective and it's an extremity, then we're going to talk about putting a tourniquet on.
Okay.
Okay, tourniquets save lives all the time. And you heard on some of those press releases for some of those mass casualty events where people use tourniquets. Now, these type of tourniquets, this is a CAT tourniquet, the kind they use in military. These are very, very effective, and this is the most reliable tool. But if I don't have one, then we can use homemade ones. And we heard that, like in Las Vegas shootings and such, people use their belt. They might use their tie. They could use rope. Those will work, but this is the most effective. So highly recommend someone would purchase one of these, and you can get them on Amazon. So let's say that, for instance, your arm was bleeding severely, like say in this area.
Okay.
Then I would want to put a tourniquet on 2 to 3 inches above that area.
So I'm bleeding here.
You're bleeding severely from there. Okay, when we put a tourniquet on, this is bleeding away quite bad. Okay, and so it becomes a tough deal for us that we have to do this quickly and properly. So I'm going to put it a couple inches above, but not at your elbow. We don't want to impede that area. And I am going to pull this part absolutely as tight as I can. And I'm not going to do it on you for the sake of hurting you. But I would pull this absolutely as tight as I can, and even more tight. Then I'm going to bring it around and just stop at this little hook piece here. And then we're going to take this wand, and I'm going to twist this around as tight as I can, and then at least 2 to 3 more times after that. Can you feel? And that's not even as tight as it would be. And then I'm going to hook it into this little piece here. Then I'm going to take the remaining part of the strap, and we're going to go around until I'm done with it, till there is no more. Okay, then this piece goes over it, and then I'm going to take a pen, and I'm going to write the time on it, so that medical providers will know what time we put this tourniquet on you. This should stop the bleeding. It's a very effective tool. If it's not, it's because I didn't do it tight enough. So that first strap, pulling it extremely tight, and then this absolutely as tight as I can. Tourniquets hurt, but we're doing a good thing. We're saving your life so that you don't bleed to death.
What if I only have a belt and I don't have something like this to be twisting?
You could use something like a pen, and you could take that pen and use it as a piece of the twist around that, and that's highly effective. People do that. If not, just pulling that belt absolutely as tight as you can, even as far as taking a leg and pulling it. That is key to getting it on.
Before I go to the tourniquet, should I first have applied pressure to this
You can
area?
do that briefly, yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Okay. Try that tight pressure without peeking, and you should see it immediately slowing down. If you don't, then make the decision quickly to put a tourniquet on, very quickly.
Okay.
Like, take it off your arm there.
Thank
So
you.
Did do it kind of tight,
Yeah, it's tight.
but it's not as tight as it would need to be to stop your bleeding.
And is this only for an extremity? What if someone is injured somewhere else?
Then this will not work. This only goes on arms or legs.
Okay.
Okay. So other areas such as abdomen, neck, groin, which are common areas, like say for gunshot wounds or penetrating wounds, then we would pack them. So these wounds on this extremity were made to be like that. So I could take a cloth, and I could quickly pack it deep into this wound. Okay, and these wounds are made very deeply, and I'm trying to pack it absolutely as tight as I can, because what it's doing is causing pressure from the inside out. And then when I get done, I could put more dressing on top, and now I'm holding that tight pressure on top of that.
Okay.
If it saturates through this, I don't take it away. Instead, I put more dressing on top and hold that tight pressure.
Okay.
Okay, these three things I just showed you are always going to be effective. Okay, they are great tools, and it's simple things that we can all do. Simple things.
Okay.
Ideally, we would wear gloves, just regular gloves, to protect ourselves from blood. That's personal choice people would make in a hurry, but it's best to put them on to protect us.
But probably for most of these situations, we don't have gloves with us
Right.
if we're out at a concert or somewhere, like you had mentioned.
True.
Okay.
Now, most people now who have taken Stop the Bleed class are putting together their own little kit, which would consist of a tourniquet, some gloves, some kind of a dressing. Now, this is a special dressing. It's called combat gauze or quick clot. This is a gauze that has hemolytic agents on it. So it's a medication that helps the person clot. So you can buy this almost anywhere, sports stores these days. Used to be only hospitals and such, but no, this does work.
Okay.
So instead of these packing, I would be packing with this dressing and stuffing that into the hole as quick as I can and as tight as I can. And it has this clotting agent on it. Okay? So I pack it absolutely as tight, and then when I was done, the remainder I would be holding my pressure again. Okay.
And you're offering some classes here at certain Beaumont hospitals. Can you talk a little bit about the classes, the Stop the Bleed?
Yep, the classes are free to the public, anybody who wants to come. They're on the bleedingcontrol.org website under Michigan, and you'll find our classes listed. The class starts with like a PowerPoint, so we go through all these concepts and we show you some pictures about what active bleeding is. And then after that, we practice these things. We practice putting tourniquets on, we practice packing and pressure. So by the time you leave, you feel confident to be able to go out and do that.
Okay, and a bystander can make a difference.
Absolutely, absolutely. And it truly is important that we know it in this day and age.
Is there like a trick to remember the steps of what you're supposed to do? Because I know you get confused in a situation like this.
Well, one thing that I didn't mention is if I come across somebody that is bleeding severely, someone needs to call 911 promptly. That is one of the most important things so we can get the advanced help there. First things would be pressure. Pressure, recognize the bleeding, pressure, and then tourniquet for an extremity if it continues to bleed, and just continue to hold that pressure. Simple as those things.
And if you didn't have, like, can you put your whole body into it also?
You absolutely
if I needed
can.
to put my knee into a hole if a wound
very
was
good.
large?
Very good. Now we have pressure points on us. So say somebody was bleeding horribly in their leg,
Okay.
and I didn't have a tourniquet available to me. I could use my shirt, for one, to pack into that wound, or I can kneel in this area, so I'm cutting off the circulation into
Okay.
that leg. So if I kneel right on it, I have these hands free to do something else, but I am putting pressure on that and stopping the bleeding that way. So it's the same pressure, it's just with the knee instead.
Okay, so it's first call 911.
Yes.
And then start applying pressure, and then possibly a tourniquet.
Yeah, absolutely.
Or packing.
Absolutely, you have it.
Okay, is there anything else that is important that I haven't asked you?
No, I really think that people need to take the course, that we all need to be confident with what to do in an emergency for bleeding. In this crazy day and age that we all live in, it's important. And that's why the class was created, for the layperson to know what to do.
George, do you think you have a better understanding now?
I do. I do want to see Dr. Lights try some of this, though.
Okay.
All right.
So, well, first I would put some pressure on the wound, right?
And this is a laceration, and then we have a gunshot wound.
Actually, these are all quite deep. Put your fingers in there just to see how deep it is. Quite deep, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
And
I'm down to bone.
You are. Mm-hmm. You are, absolutely. So you can see, we're trying to figure out where it's bleeding from. We're trying to find that one spot, and blood would be coming out. It would be tough to figure it out. So that's why you got to hurry up and pack it. Now, this wound is also like a gunshot wound on it, and that's the same thing. We would need to try to feel how that one feels. Quite deep, too.
Yeah.
The wounds they made in this dummy were for that purpose, so that they are pretty realistic, and that one also is quite deep. So,
All right, so then we put the pressure, and then if that wasn't working, then I start putting some packing.
yep.
So we just pack with whatever we have. So
Whatever
if I
you
just
have.
had a T-shirt or a
Absolutely.
handkerchief,
So you're going to pack it really deep. Now, you saw how deep those things were, so it's going to take a lot of it. It may even take that whole washcloth to get it in there and get it as tight as you can.
well, I hope the ambulance gets here soon.
I'm guessing it wouldn't be this calm.
No, it would be.
No.
You'd be
And
nervous.
The thing about when someone's bleeding severely, it's sticky, it's wet, or our adrenaline's going, so we do need to act quickly and promptly, and just having the skills would make it kind of rote. We should be able to just do it right away because we learned it.
Okay. I feel like I'm in there.
Yeah, so you get it really
Yeah.
tight, and then bunch up your dressing on top of it, your rest of your stuff, and then put your pressure on it just as tight as you can. So lock those elbows, just almost like a CPR thing, and you just hold as tight as you can.
Okay.
Good.
All
You wanna
right.
put a tourniquet on?
Sure.
Okay, so we'll open this up. So
Okay.
let's say that I'm bleeding right here. So you
Okay,
want to
so I
put
gotta
it
go
above.
up here.
Yep,
a couple
2 to
inches
3
before.
inches above.
Okay.
Okay. So then you take this blue strap and pull it absolutely as tight as you can.
Okay.
So real tight.
That one.
Oh, you
Is
aren't
that
going to hurt
tight?
me. No,
Okay.
go ahead. It's not tight at all.
All right.
Okay, then come around. Oops, wait a minute. I didn't hook this piece for you.
Go in here.
So stop there. Stop right here to it. Now this you're going to bend around as tight as you can. And that should stop all the active bleeding.
Okay.
So absolutely as tight as you can. You can do more if that's definitely not too tight.
Okay.
Okay, so I would be complaining if you got it tight enough. Then you hook it in here. Oops, hang on. Hook this stick in there. There you go. Now
And then-
the blue part goes across and around as far as you can get it.
And then take this down.
Yep. And then you write the time that you put this on.
Okay.
Good job.
I think you're gonna make it.
Great. Saved my arm.
All right.
Is there a limited time how long that can stay on?
People ask that question. I can tell you that if you get a new joint, like a new knee, you have a tourniquet on in surgery for a couple of hours with no ill effect. And no ill effect here. Say there was multiple victims from whatever the cause was, and it was on for a few hours, maybe even longer, and the risk to their limb, we saved their life. Because somebody can bleed in front of you and die within a matter of a few minutes. So you're saving their life, and you have to keep that in mind when you're doing that. A couple hours, no problem. No problem at all.
Okay. Anything else? Do we have any questions or comments?
Everyone's very shy. They're just taking it all in.
Well, it's good information.
I hope they sign up for the classes because they are valuable.
Yeah, go ahead and say the website again, where to go to.
Bleedingcontrol.org.
And how often do you offer the classes?
We actually have a class tonight at 7 p.m. here at the hospital. We have one Friday at 10 a.m. And we have a series of them in March on a Saturday in partnership with the Farmington Hills Fire Department and Emergency Preparedness Committee.
And they're all free?
Absolutely
How
free.
long would they be here?
Just an hour. Just
Okay,
an hour.
so
in the
1
hall.
hour of your life could save a life.
It's valuable.
Thank you so much, Barb. This was great information.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.